Hello everyone, and welcome to History of the Ancient World. Today, we're leaving the solid ground of legendary empires behind and casting off into the wine-dark sea, just as Homer described it. We're diving deep into the world of ancient naval battles, a realm where wooden walls decided the fate of nations and the clash of oars and rams echoed across the waves. Before the age of cannons and steel, naval warfare was a brutal, intimate affair. It was about raw manpower, brilliant tactics, and the sheer terror of facing an enemy ship head-on. These weren't just battles, they were colossal struggles for survival, trade, and dominance. From the sun-drenched coasts of the Mediterranean to the choppy waters of the Aegean, the sea was the ultimate prize. Our story begins in the 5th century BC with the mighty Persian Empire, the largest the world had ever seen, casting its long shadow over the independent Greek city-states. King Xerxes, son of Darius the Great, was determined to succeed where his father had failed. He assembled a truly staggering invasion force, both on land and at sea. Ancient historians like Herodotus claim the Persian fleet numbered over 1,000 ships, a veritable floating city of warriors drawn from every corner of the empire. Their goal? To crush Greek resistance once and for all. Facing this behemoth was a small, fractious alliance of Greek cities, led by Athens and Sparta. They were hopelessly outnumbered, but the Athenians, guided by the cunning statesman Themistocles, had a secret weapon. Years earlier, a massive silver strike at the Laurian mines had filled the city's treasury. While some wanted to distribute the wealth among the citizens, Themistocles persuaded them to invest it all in building a new, state-of-the-art fleet of warships, the trireme. The trireme was the cutting edge of naval technology. It was a long, slender vessel powered by 3 banks of oarsmen, 170 in total, packed tightly within its hull. It was fast, agile, and armed with a deadly bronze-plated ram at its prow. The entire ship was a weapon designed for a single, devastating purpose: to punch a hole in an enemy hull and send it to the bottom of the sea. Themistocles knew that Greece's only hope lay not on the battlefield, but on the waves. The first major clash came at Artemisium, fought at the same time as the legendary stand of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae. The Greek fleet, though smaller, managed to hold its own against the Persians in a series of engagements. They learned valuable lessons about Persian tactics and proved that the invaders were not invincible. But the real test, the battle that would define an era, was yet to come. After the fall of Athens, which the Persians burned to the ground, the Greek fleet retreated to the narrow straits of Salamis. Panic began to set in. Many of the allied commanders wanted to flee, to defend their own home cities, but Themistocles stood firm. He knew this narrow channel was their only advantage. It would prevent the massive Persian fleet from surrounding them and force them to fight in a constricted space, neutralizing their numerical superiority. To ensure the battle happened on his terms, Themistocles made a legendary gamble. He sent a trusted messenger to Xerxes, pretending to be a traitor. The message? That the Greeks were in disarray and planned to escape under the cover of night. He urged Xerxes to block the straits immediately and trap them. Xerxes, arrogant and overconfident, fell for the bait hook, line, and sinker. He ordered his fleet to move in, trapping the Greeks exactly as Themistocles had planned. As dawn broke, the Persian fleet found itself crammed into the narrow strait, ship to ship, a disorganized mass of vessels. The Greek fleet, poised and ready, charged. The Battle of Salamis was not a graceful ballet of ships, it was a chaotic, brutal scrum. Greek triremes, more maneuverable in the tight quarters, darted in and out. They rammed the larger, clumsier Persian ships, shearing off their oars and leaving them helpless in the water. Greek marines, the hoplites, leaped onto enemy decks, turning the naval battle into a series of vicious land battles on floating platforms. The clear water of the strait turned red. Shattered timbers, broken oars, and the bodies of men filled the channel. From a golden throne set up on a nearby hillside, Xerxes watched in horror as his magnificent fleet was systematically torn to pieces. The battle was a resounding, unbelievable victory for the Greeks. It shattered the myth of Persian invincibility and marked a turning point in the war. The threat of subjugation was lifted, and Athens was free to enter its golden age. But the age of the trireme was far from over. The century that followed Salamis saw the two great victors, Athens and Sparta, turn against each other in the devastating Peloponnesian War. Naval power was central to this conflict. Athens, with its powerful fleet, controlled the seas, creating a vast maritime empire. Sparta, a land-based power, knew it had to challenge this supremacy to win. The war culminated in one of the most disastrous military campaigns in ancient history, the Sicilian expedition. Athens sent a massive fleet and army to capture the powerful city of Syracuse in Sicily. What was meant to be a swift victory turned into a years-long siege. The Athenians, thousands of miles from home, found themselves trapped. The final, desperate battle took place in the great harbor of Syracuse. Unlike the open water tactics the Athenians preferred, this was a close-quarters brawl, similar to Salamis, but this time the tables were turned. The Syracusans had reinforced the prows of their ships, making them stronger for head-on collisions. The confined space of the harbor negated the Athenian advantage in speed and skill. The result was a catastrophe for Athens. Their fleet was annihilated, and the soldiers trapped on land were hunted down and captured. The Sicilian expedition was a blow from which Athens would never fully recover, and it ultimately led to their defeat in the Peloponnesian War. As we move forward in time, the nature of naval warfare began to change. During the Hellenistic period, the era of Alexander the Great's successors, warships became bigger and bigger. The trireme gave way to quinqueremes, ships with 5 men per oar section, and even larger polyremes. These were the battleships of their day, floating fortresses packed with soldiers and even catapults. The focus shifted from ramming to boarding actions and missile combat. This evolution led us to the next great naval power of the Mediterranean, Rome. Initially a land-based republic, Rome learned the importance of sea power the hard way during its first war with Carthage, a dominant maritime empire. The Romans, practical as ever, captured a Carthaginian warship and reverse-engineered it, building an entire fleet in a matter of months. But they added a crucial innovation, the corvus, or the crow. This was a large, heavy boarding bridge with a spike on its underside. When an enemy ship got close, the Romans would drop the corvus, locking the two ships together. This brilliant device transformed a naval battle into a land battle at sea, allowing their superior legionaries to storm the enemy vessel. With the corvus, Rome defeated Carthage and became the new master of the seas. The final great naval battle of antiquity was Actium, fought in 31 BC. This was a battle that ended a republic and birthed an empire. On one side was Octavian, Julius Caesar's heir, on the other his rival Mark Antony, and his powerful ally, the Egyptian queen Cleopatra. Antony and Cleopatra's fleet was filled with the massive warships of the Hellenistic tradition. Octavian's fleet, commanded by the brilliant Admiral Agrippa, consisted of smaller, more agile vessels, reminiscent of the old Greek triremes. In the waters off the Greek coast, Agrippa's lighter ships ran circles around Antony's heavy behemoths. They darted in, attacking with fire arrows and ballistae, crippling the larger ships without engaging them in a direct ramming or boarding contest they would surely lose. In a controversial move, Cleopatra's squadron broke from the battle and fled, with Antony following close behind. Their fleet, leaderless and demoralized, surrendered. Octavian's victory was absolute. He would soon become Augustus, the first Roman emperor, and the Battle of Actium ushered in the Pax Romana, a long period of peace enforced by Rome's unrivaled control of the Mediterranean, which they proudly called Mare Nostrum, our sea. From the tactical genius of Themistocles at Salamis to the engineering prowess of the Romans with their corvus, ancient naval battles were a crucible of innovation and courage. They shaped the course of history, determined the fate of empires, and left behind epic tales of heroism and tragedy that continue to fascinate us to this day. Thank you so much for joining us on this voyage through history. If you enjoyed this journey into the ancient world's naval conflicts, please hit that like button and subscribe to History of the Ancient World for more stories from our distant past. We'll see you in the next one.